that our stream and Facebook keeps pausing. I really hope that's not an issue.
Might be better if you're on Facebook, transition over to Sir Links-a-Lot
Well,
YouTube.
I don't
No?
know if I don't know if either will be better really. It could just
Gotcha.
be the internet out here is bad again for whatever reason. I don't know what the deal is. It's like just
Yeah, I would think
so,
you'd have stable internet out there.
well, yeah, I mean it's like a new place. It's all everything's all nice and stuff, but I don't just the internet for every now and then it just will get real slow or really just like kind of pop in and out and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I thought about upgrading it, but I don't think upgrading it fixes that
Might not.
because it seems more like a connectivity issue rather than the
Maybe you need a
actual
new
top
router or
speed that I can
something.
go or whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, it's definitely crap up here. I miss Google Fiber for sure.
Yeah, Goog Fibe's really, that's a quality product. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Google Fiber was probably the best internet I've had as far as just
For sure.
never any issues, good speed. It was just super solid, nice.
And this podcast is unofficially brought to you by Google Fiber, the voice of free internet.
Who said Google
Uh,
can't do good things? Maybe the only positive
we
stuff we'll
lo-
say about them.
we love Google, like it's a love-hate relationship.
Oh yeah, Google, John Mueller, our boys over at Googs. They're great.
Yeah, they're our friends.
All right, guys. Yeah, sorry for pulling the rug on you. I know the countdown was a little longer than normal, but need to figure out how to fix the little countdown timer so we can make it shorter. And we wanted to start on time because Nick's got somewhere he needs to be going. But yeah, you know the drill. If you got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we will get to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, we'll be taking stuff that's in our backlog, of stuff that people asked, not live. So yeah, drop your questions, and we'll just get going now.
Before we get started, just don't forget, okay? Black Friday sale is coming up, starts the 23rd. That's 25% off. Count it, 25% off all backlinks. And I think we're going to go ahead and do 10% off domain purchases as well. We were kind of on the fence about it, but I think we'll take the hit for you guys and girls out there.
Let me find our ad real quick. I'm pretty proud of that, so I will drop that
Sure hope that
in the
wasn't
comment.
showing.
No, this doesn't show.
Chris frequents a
No,
lot of
no, no,
random
no, no,
videos
no.
on YouTube.
I don't need to know about my browsing history. That's between me and YouTube.
And me.
Well, our company and YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No HR department here.
but yeah, if you guys, make sure, double check, make sure that's the right one. Yeah, if you haven't seen our ad yet, go ahead and check that out because we spent a lot of time on this, and by a lot of time, I meant a couple minutes recording and then a
I
couple
think
minutes
it's,
editing.
it's fun. Like that kind of stuff is the spice of being able to run your own business. Is like, I want to make a meme commercial. That's what we do. Like, I say we start doing it a little bit more. We started off, the first video I think we ever made, one of the first promotional videos was a giveaway. Remember where I
Hmm.
had chainmail on my head? And
Yeah,
was yelling at the screen. And we haven't
we'd been
really done
drinking.
too many since then. Yeah, we'd been drinking. Yeah. Um, yeah, that kind of stuff, kind of lights up the room again, especially if you're doing a bunch of mundane work or, just kind of back in the weeds. Do a fun little project and it can help elevate, your spirits a
It's
bit, I
definitely a bit
guess.
of a balancing act, though, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
well, I guess anyone, I don't know how interesting you guys will find this stuff, but, you obviously want to always position your company as professional and, I mean, we are professional, we take our work very seriously and all that. But we also like as far as like advertising goes, we definitely like the catchy, like funny kind of memey stuff, and
Meme
it's
stuff,
kind of where you
yeah.
can be more creative. But you also kind of want to, it's like where is the line that's too far between, needing people to take your company seriously and I
Yeah.
don't know, just appealing to people who understand that sense of humor and
But then you see Elon Musk's recent tweets and you go, there's no rules anymore. Like,
But
like nobody
that's also after he's become the
after you
richest man
made
in the
it.
world.
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. I guess at that point you can kind of, yeah,
I guess the most
swing
recent
around a
tweets
bit.
were actually real then. Because
Yeah,
a lot of the time people will they make like fake tweets from him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think those the two that I'm thinking of that came out recently, one towards Bernie
Yeah, I
Sanders and one
saw it.
towards another politician.
Yeah,
Yeah, apparently real.
crazy if
And
true.
it's just like, yeah, it's funny. But at the
Elon
same
Musk a
time it
little bit of a
shows,
sleaze
like
bag.
yeah, he's funny. I mean, like
Like he
it shows there's a shift, right, in belief systems and in the way that corporate culture is supposed to be, right? Like, Google and those progressive companies kind of started it with like not having to wear a suit to your corporate job day, and that was like real revolutionary, and then free meals at your mega cafeteria, etc.
mhm.
Support individuality, all that kind of stuff. And now it's like, all right, well, as smaller entrepreneurs, we've got a choice. Like, do we stay corporate conservative style, which is not me or Chris's, that's not our personalities. It's probably why we ended up working for ourselves versus going and working for corporate culture. And it's like, quite honestly, if we're going to be doing this every day, then I want it to match, the lifestyle that I idealize and want, which is not one that's, really tapered and has a set of guidelines,
One makes more
etc.
money
to it.
though.
I think it's hard to say because I think, you can find people or avenues
I'm gonna
by which
taper you.
to do well. Yeah, taper is a good word. I don't know how it came to me just then, but I liked it. Um, I feel like you can find success through either avenue,
For
right?
sure.
And then, you look at these young coders and stuff like that who are very counterculture, the vast majority of them, that do
Mm.
really well. They're in high demand, etc. And it's like, if you're good enough at what you do, nobody's going to tell you what box
I
you
don't
got
think
to
they're
be.
counterculture at all, though. Maybe hopefully I don't piss anyone off, but I think they are extremely mainstream, like center left, color in the lines, but I've got purple hair type situation going on.
I,
Like I
I
don't
can
see
see that.
anything
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't know. That's just my view on the whole thing.
Send Chris your hate mail at his personal email.
But I don't know, it's just the new generation, right? Like
Yeah.
they appear like wacky, or maybe they're more outward with I don't
It's
know,
like
just
it's more of a show thing. I feel like it's like at its core, aren't they all like playing video games and staying indoors and reading Reddit?
yeah, they got good
I mean,
jobs, they work hard. They're not really counterculture. They're very like within like
yes,
the new kind of like PC
it's like the illusion of counterculture.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like monetized counterculture in a way, or like
Mhm.
mainstream counterculture. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
New,
yeah.
just the new mainstream, I guess.
We're boomers. Like that's what's happening right now. We just became boomers. We just lost an entire segment of followers, and I apologize in advance.
Well, good thing viewership's low since we just pulled the rug and started early. All right, let's go ahead and get into SEO stuff. That's not a dig at anyone, by the way. We're very like
Yeah, if you have purple
it's
hair, quite honestly, I
yeah,
like
yeah.
it. I think it's
No,
cool
exactly. Like
to
I
kind of
like
push
the whole
boundaries.
thing. It's just yeah, it's kind of hard navigating like the new online business sphere, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Well, because remember when we first started too, we thought about that, how to appeal more to corporate style clientele, and then over time, it's like, well, the business becomes, a little bit of who you are and who your personality is, and yeah, that kind of culture just isn't in us.
for sure. All right, let's go ahead and get to some SEO stuff. Um, this was one from our group. I think we answered it, but we can go a little more in depth here. My anchor text is over optimized. Can I just go back and change all my old anchors?
You cannot. Um, just look at it from a natural perspective, okay? Would Bob, the regular old business owner who doesn't understand how backlinks work, um, think to themselves, let me just go through 100 different backlinks that I had and change them all up. And then let Google crawlers re-investigate all that and not say this looks like manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's counterproductive. What you'd want to do, a better recourse of action, is now for your new campaigns, go more natural with everything. Start diluting the errors you made previously versus thinking you can erase the history. You cannot erase the history. Google crawlers go out, they gather data, bring it back in, and categorize it. If you're going back and manipulating that data, it's going to set off red flags. So what you're doing is you're now diluting things by going natural anchors mainly to the home page. And then you're waiting for things to resonate more positively in the SERPs and, back to business as usual after that. But, you can get away with changing a couple of anchors if you're doing it sporadically. That does happen naturally here and there, but what you're talking about blanketing is not okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like Nick was saying, just you're not supposed to have control over the backlinks that are coming to your site. So going out and all your anchors all of a sudden changing magically to whatever is a sign that, hey, like what's going on here? Why did they seemingly have control over, the links that are going to their site?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just not something you really want to do. It's something that you could, invite more trouble in. So yeah, like Nick said, definitely wouldn't do it. Um, and then as far as, so your anchors are over optimized, now you need to fix it. One of the best tools we like to use for diluting anchors are low authority niche edits. These are the barrage ones here at the bottom of the page. So these are packs of 10, but actually this is actually a pack of 14 because it comes with 4 bonus links. But yeah, you can see these links are quite cheap. They're on super low authority sites. The sites only have between 10 and 50 referring domains of their own. But, they're real sites, they're niche relevant, and it allows you to very cheaply get in a bunch more natural anchors to get away from your over optimized anchors, which is
Yeah.
why we like using them. If you got the money to drop and you want to just dilute with high authority anchors, the level 6s, the level 5s, or if you're doing our guest posts, the DR51 pluses, like if you have the money to do that, if you have the link building budget where that's possible, then go for it. That's better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to think in terms of, oh, it's a waste. It's a waste, right? To buy these expensive links and use natural anchors and yada
nah,
yada. It's not a waste. That's how you insulate a website. That's how you make it grow over time while manipulating backlink data. So it is part of what you're going to want to do, as far as the toolkits that we give and kind of teach with here at Sir Links a lot.
yeah, yeah, for sure. High authority. If you had the option, I would just go for those. But let's face it.
Yeah.
Most people, are working within budget constraints. Even if the budget constraint is just,
Well, yeah.
it's
So
just going to be like how much profit you're able to take yourself as, maybe it's a client side or whatever. I don't really know, but
yeah.
um,
So
yeah,
hypothetical, you've got over-optimized anchors, you've got 100 referring domains or 100 backlinks with those. Month number 1, maybe I do a barrage 15 to 30, and I'm blanketing just natural anchors mainly to the home page, maybe a couple inner pages, but always natural anchors. And then I'll get some high-end guest posts, high-end niche edits. Now, it's all going to depend on your budget, right? But I'm going to tie the room together, not just a bunch of low authority stuff, but a mix with natural anchors that are going to help break everything apart. And then I'd probably keep doing that for 2 3 months, depending on the damage from the over optimized anchors.
some other options you could use that I don't really like as much because just the types of links they aren't as they're more like pillow links, would be our pillow links packs, our
Hmm.
diversity links packs. And these actually contain Web 2.0s. You could actually use Web 2.0s to diversify as well. But then again, you don't want to, I mean, I just don't really like the idea of going out and building like 30 Web 2.0s, right? If you really need to diversify in like larger numbers or whatever. But I mean, you could, and people
Yeah.
do, and I've seen sites that pillow with web, a bunch of Web 2.0 stuff do pretty well when it's more the natural kind of, not really spam, but yeah,
Hmm.
high Web 2.0 use.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it on that. Definitely wouldn't go back and try to change your anchors, and just like we've been talking about, just focus on moving forward with building more natural anchors. Just try to tip the scale back towards the natural side rather than the over optimized side, and you'll probably be just fine. Um, all right. Hey Brian, what's going on, man? How you doing, brother?
What up?
I need to start saying brother more.
Cool,
Makes me feel
brother.
brother, brother.
How's it make you feel?
Um, I just feel like the word is like coming back, and not like the like hillbilly hell yeah brother way. It's
Hmm.
just more just like brother. But no, you're taking it wrong. You're like taking it in the wrong
No,
way.
I'm just imagining you saying it, trying to sound natural, and I'm like,
Well, I just said
it's
it. I just
it's
said it to Brian.
funny.
Didn't I sound
I,
natural?
oh
Come
yeah,
on, you boomer. You gotta keep up with
I
the
will
times.
see. I don't
Gotta
know.
use the cool words.
If you purple your hair, then maybe this will tie the room together, brother.
I've been thinking about getting some more tattoos here pretty soon.
Sick. Sir
Um,
Links-a-Lot neck tat.
hey, we'll see. Um, all right. Here's a fun one. Why isn't my article ranking past page 3?
God, that's a good question. I'll give you an honest answer. I have no friggin' idea.
So I guess the real question is here is
Are you?
how do I rank?
Yeah,
Or
right.
why am I not ranking? Um, I believe this one was in our group as well. Let me let me go
So
ahead and say a little
I'll
something,
just
Nick,
jump
while I
in
pull up.
like
Yeah.
real quick. So uh, as far as basics go, this being a kind of newer or newbier question, it's going to depend on a few variables mainly, which is on-page factors and off-page factors. What are you doing with how you built the site? Is it friendly crawlable, not just to people, but to crawlers themselves, to Google crawlers? That's what we're trying to do whenever we're talking about search engine optimization. We're speaking to the crawlers, so not just how the site reads to people. And then what kind of backlink profile that you've got going. Maybe you don't have anything. Maybe your content isn't optimized. Maybe you're not using something like Yoast or Rank Math to speak to crawlers. And so, being such a broad question, it's hard to say, but it's going to be based on, a handful of variables, which is on page and off page factors and how those relay to Google crawlers, what's going on with your site. But if you've made it to page 3, then you're doing well. There is some level of trust there. A lot of people, if it's a newer site, would call this the sandbox phase. We're not too big on saying sandbox, but it's something that will help you kind of conceptualize what's going on. And yeah, depending on where your campaign is, maybe you need more backlinks. Maybe you need to optimize content. And maybe just your competitors are far above you, or just right above you. But yeah, this is with not having any more details, it's a hard question to go further into.
Yeah, it's maybe not the most fun question for a lot of our viewers to listen to us talk about, but it's something that you see all the time, and
Hmm.
you definitely got to answer it. So here's a little answer I wrote out for him before. We can just go ahead and cover this stuff a little bit more in depth without, trying to write an entire book, because the question is essentially how to do SEO, right? But yeah, so said we won't be able to answer the question without more information. Here's stuff you can look into. So number one, your content. Does your article cover the topic fully? So you want to either use something like Surfer SEO, or you could go and look at some of the top ranking articles and just see, you can look at things like content length. You can look at things like basically sections that they have that you might not have. Yeah, just all that stuff. So you just want to make sure that Google thinks that your content is quality and that you're covering it in a way that is consistent with other top rankers, which will, they obviously already saying they think that this content is good, among other things, like their backlinks. But yeah, it's always good to look at the competition as far as the content goes. Something else I didn't really write for this one that could also talk about is matching search intent. Like for example, if someone types in, I'm just gonna say like dog toy, like are they looking? And so when you look at the top ranking pages, is Google displaying things like basically to learn about what dog toys are, or is it more like buyer intent, like buy the best dog toy here? So yeah, as far as you want to make sure your content covers the topic fully, and you also want to make sure your content matches the search intent, which is pretty important. Do you have anything to add as far as content goes?
No, that about sums it up. I mean, like on a base level.
Yep. Next up, we got your on-page SEO. Is your article optimized correctly? Again, not something we can cover fully here. We've got an article on it, on the basics of it,
Yeah.
which is still pretty much like what we use to this day. We're not like super. I just feel like on-page SEO is so easy, right? And it hasn't. I don't feel like it really has changed much at all. I
It's
was,
easy once you understand what matters,
yeah.
but previous to that, on-page SEO is something where I remember as a newbie always being like, maybe I did it wrong. However, now with stuff like Surfer SEO, you can use a tool like that and get a lot better idea, especially from a newbie perspective of, oh, put everything in the green and it's going to help me
Yeah.
to quite a good degree. I wish I had that when I first started SEO, because when I first started in SEO, it was do like 500 words of content, and that's usually okay. Um, and you'd had variations of spun content and garbage like that. Maybe you'd up it to like 750 to 1,000. It doesn't exist like that anymore.
For sure. Yeah. But yeah, do your on page. Obviously you need to, well, I guess maybe not obviously depending on who's asking this, but you need to optimize your content for the keywords. And this is things you can do like changing your title tag, maybe changing the inner page URL slug, changing your H1 and maybe your other H tags, getting in your keyword and the keyword variations a decent amount of time in the content without keyword stuffing, just stuff like that. But yeah, tools again like Surfer can help you out with that. But also definitely check out our article on page SEO, which covers the basics, the most important things about on page SEO, and that'll pretty much, I think, take you to where you really need to be as far as on page. And number three is your backlinks, right? Which is the hardest part of the whole equation, because anyone can look at top ranking content and write similar content. Anybody can look at top ranking content and optimize it in a similar way. So these things are easy. Anyone can make changes to their own site and do these two things. The hardest part is backlinks. You do not have control, or theoretically, you're not supposed to have control over other sites linking to your website or your content and saying, this is a good source of information, right? So this is the hardest part of the equation. And generally people can do number one and number two by, reading a couple articles and figuring out how to do it. Then when it comes to number three, you're really going to have to put some work in as far as doing outreach yourself and to get things like edits, guest posts, editorial links, that kind of thing, as well as building the pillow links yourself. Or you're gonna have to allocate some budget to it or build a team to do it. Yeah, it's either gonna take a ton of time, a team, or a budget to do the backlinks part. And this is probably the thing that, because anyone can do number one and number two, number three tends to be the thing that people are lacking on. And, they're like, hey, I'm stuck on page 3. Why can't I get on the page 1? It's like, okay, well, your site, you have 20 referring domains and they're all things like coupon codes that your site just got naturally over time. And then you look at the number 1 ranker and hey, their site has, 2,000 backlinks and they're actually pretty good. So, it's going to take quite some amount of work, either marketing your content, doing outreach, or, paying link building services such as ourselves to do the work for you. But yeah, this is the basics. I don't think we really need to cover it more than that. Content on page backlinks. Just got to figure out what your problem is, right?
Yep.
Anything else to add, Nick?
No, that sounds about right.
Cool. All right. Let's go to the next one. Is a backlink worthless if it's not indexed?
Didn't we ask that? I feel like we've answered this, but
I don't think we did the video on it
no,
yet,
it's
unless
not
I
worthless.
forgot to take it off the list, but I don't think we did.
Oh, we can answer it either way. No, it's not necessarily worthless. We've talked about it a lot on how, and actually Mueller put out recently that they don't index everything that they crawl, right? Why would, countless citations get indexed? All this takes up space. But to say that it's not categorized and doesn't help paint a picture is erroneous. Now, mind you, we've talked about this too when it comes to like higher end guest posts or niche edits. If the inner page doesn't index within, a certain amount of time, then there could be a problem with, the crawlability of that page, etc. And so hypothetical, if you bought that from a vendor, they should, we would replace it, right? But just because something is not indexed doesn't mean that Google hasn't crawled it and that it's not something that is helping paint the picture of what your website is about. But it does say that if Google has crawled it, then it hasn't been warranted that it would index it. And indexing, to those of you that aren't quite understanding this, is just adding it to search, right? Like that's all it is. It's like, is this valuable enough to add to a search query? And so sometimes even if it's on a site that is valuable, if it's this offhanded page that doesn't really fit in anywhere, it's, kind of looking like it won't rank for any specific search query, then, it'll just get left off. But that's not to say that it doesn't add value. Now, mind you, obviously, in thinking of that, it means that if something is indexed, it is more valuable than something that is not indexed, right? So, of course, if we're purchasing backlinks or if we're messing with backlink data altogether, then yeah, we would prefer them to be indexed. But like when I do pillowing, I don't ever go check. And I don't ever force index anything. I just let the picture paint naturally.
Yeah. So, like Nick was saying, really, as far as me like caring if a link is indexed, it's definitely going to depend on the type of link it is. If it's a niche edit, a guest post, a PBN link, an editorial link, we're talking about.
When's the last time you ever checked indexation on a link?
It's been a long time, but
yeah, same. I put my orders in every month for whatever asset, and then it's like,
but
that's it. That's my job. But yeah,
if
your
let's
budget's
say,
different.
but we're in a little bit of a unique situation. So
Yeah,
let's,
sure.
if it was, if I was, for example, a customer putting orders in through our site and I ordered, some guest posts or some niche edits or whatever, I'd probably I mean, I think I would probably check to see if they're indexed. At least if I wasn't comfortable with the provider at first. If it was like the first couple
Mm-hmm.
orders, whatever, I'd probably check because you don't really you always want to make sure you're getting what you paid for or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, if it's like an editorial link, so niche edit, guest post, PBN link, or that type of thing, you want it to be indexed. They should be indexed. A niche edit should be indexed already because it's existing. It's already existed for some time, and your link is just edited in. Guest post, might depending on the site, it might take a little bit of time since it's actually a new content on their website, right? So it might not be indexed immediately. Um, and then, same for PBN links because it's a new link. Um, but yeah, as far as like you were saying as well, as far as like things like pillow links go, that's not something I ever check at all. Even if I was buying from a provider, I wouldn't check. And, it's these types of links that it doesn't really make sense for Google to index all of them all the time. Um, they have a limited, they have their bots, but they have a limited crawl budget essentially. It's like uh, how many pages of content. Are you still there, Nick? Or are you frozen? Or are you just being like super
I'm
still? Oh
here.
wow, you were being like
I
really
think I'm
still. That
just
was incredible.
I'm looking. I'm trying to figure out why. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, never mind. Yeah, go ahead.
No,
But yeah, I'm here.
so I was just saying, like, it doesn't make sense for them to index all of this stuff that they know that their searchers don't care about. So let's say, for example, you typed in plumber in Austin, or even the name of the company, like Sir Links-a-Lot Plumbing, Austin.
Yeah.
And let's say we had built 200 citations for our site. But like, does the
And then there's
searcher,
1,000
yeah,
plumbers in Austin.
does a
Uh,
person that's searching that on Google, do they want to find the citation sites? Like, is that something like a searcher will ever want? And the answer is no, they don't care about that at all.
yeah. Or is it worthwhile for Google to store that
No,
data? I mean,
exactly,
all this
exactly.
storage costs them money, right? Like, yeah, it'd be insane. That's, in a giant metro that could be like 10 million listings for one niche type of thing, like a plumber,
Yeah.
right? Like in New York or something. And then, to know whether these businesses are still in existence, et cetera. Yeah, that's its own thing altogether.
Yeah. So, so not only does it cost them money to keep it up, but they also know that searchers don't want to find that information. So the two things kind of work together, right? Like no one cares about
Hmm.
it, and they're they're making their crawl budget. They're using it more efficiently. Um, so yeah, stuff as far as like pillow links and stuff go, definitely wouldn't worry about that stuff being indexed. Like John of Google says, just because they know about a URL does not mean they will index it. And I actually see like in the future that I if things continue, because people are just putting up so much content on the internet, and actually now things are getting harder to index, and it
Hmm.
actually makes sense over time that this happens because the internet is just going to grow and grow and grow, but people don't care about anything. You know, Google returns X amount of like pages for a certain
Yeah.
search term, but no one cares about like the top, anything past page one. So like,
Think
why are they
about like
wasting all this like this budget with
yeah.
their systems and their servers
Think
and
about like these random bloggers that just like have pages of rants about like, what they do in their day in, day out that have no URL structure, don't really fit because like they're not actively trying to pursue getting search engine
as far
rankings,
as Google
but
sees
they're
it, they're
this
just
just
putting out like
mishmash of
gibberish on
content.
the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're talking about robots reading it and then classifying it. Well, a lot of this stuff too, as more people move on to the internet, is becoming more personalized stuff, right? And so it's different and it's harder to classify when you're considering categorizing all this stuff inside of a search engine. So yeah, I think especially what you said about over time, the more people that get on the internet, the less Google's going to do this, especially while they rely on servers to hold this information, right? Because like we said, that costs money. If they've got like a never-ending cloud storage that facilitates all this stuff, maybe they'll just, create a never-ending stream of it. But then, you could imagine that with too much information, sorting things within the crawler would get difficult in and of itself too. So, yeah, quite the clusteroloni.
For sure. So yeah, just to sum it up, just because Google knows about a URL does not mean they have to also display that in search results, right? It's kind of like Ahrefs. Ahrefs knows about more links than they tell you that the site has. They just display or tell you about the ones they think are the most important. And that's the same thing that Google does with URLs in its displayable index. But it doesn't mean that there's anything else behind the scenes, that just because they don't display it in search doesn't mean that they necessarily don't know about it. And
Right.
but yeah, just to recap, important links, guest posts, PBN, niche edits, any type of editorial link like that, you want it to be indexed. Everything else, I wouldn't worry about it. And like Nick also mentioned before, we don't force index anything. If you're building a bunch of pillow links, these things naturally, people, if a Joe Schmo's business goes and builds a bunch of pillow links, they don't also force index them. That's just not something that's natural. So when we're building these supernatural types of links that are just used to look natural, make everything look natural, we prefer to build them as naturally as possible. Some people like to force index them. We offer force indexing as far as our pillow links, diversity links type of
Some
stuff
products, yeah.
goes, but it's not something I do myself. But some people really like it, so you do you.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that?
No, that's about it.
All right. Let's see. All right. Which one of these do you want to do next?
Let's do the first one. That's pretty good. While we're on the subject of Google reading content.
All right. Can Google really read content and decide, oh yeah, this one's a better article? I'm seeing websites in my niche that have a lot of grammatical mistakes.
And so, in short, yes, they can decide which one they think is better, as far as, what users want to see when they go to that SERP. So basically, again, we're talking about Google not as a group of individuals, but as a robot that is crawling and categorizing information. And in doing that across the billions of pages that it's gone over, it's come up with an assortment of grammatical mistakes or things that like users might, input that are errors, etc. And while that would mean it's a cut below an article that's perfectly written from a human perspective, that's not necessarily what's going to happen with the crawler, which is a robot. And so, again, what we mentioned earlier, as far as using something like Surfer SEO, Surfer, what it does is it crawls the first 10 or however many articles that resonate in a SERP, and it creates a data set compiled by everything that it reads in that SERP, right? And so it's going to have information on percentages of certain words that it likes to see there. Structure kind of might play a little bit into it, but I think it's mainly finding all the correct words and phrases that it would compile into the perfect article, right? And so this will allow for some room of error when it comes to grammatical mistakes, etc. But hypothetical, if somebody used Surfer, has a few issues, or just wrote something that's, ties the room together the best versus somebody who wrote a grammatically perfect 500 word essentially essay, to a regular user. Maybe from your perspective, you would have the better article, but from the crawler's perspective, it's not the case. So sometimes it helps to just remember we're gaming a system that is a robot classifying everything based on human ingenuity, but there's only so much you can do as far as, creating a sentient robot, which they don't have quite yet.
How much do you think things like grammatical mistakes in an article really matter as far as
I
affecting rankings?
I don't know, honestly, because I would think over, like, hypothetical, you've got two equivalently written essays from a crawler's perspective, right? It's got the right words,
And the
etc.
equivalent
Then there
quality of
probably
backlinks as
is,
well, and number of
yeah, yeah,
backlinks.
yeah. Yeah, just even all together, but one's got grammatical mistakes. I'm willing to bet that Google, is going to pick the right winner there.
Yeah. If
So
everything
of
else
course
was
you'd always
equal.
want to go. Yeah, if everything else was equal. Now, mind you, that's not to say that just because you've written something perfect doesn't mean that there's, not going to be issues on something that does rank higher than your asset. So yeah, I mean, better article is subjective to who's reading it or what's reading it, right? And in this case, we're talking about a robot that thinks in
Yeah,
percentages.
as far as like this question specifically about like grammatical errors go, that's not, you see top ranking sites all the time that have like, grammatical errors all over the place. They might not, might get like a B if they were in an elementary school, English class or
But
whatever, but the thing is that people can still learn a lot from the article and they can still really like it. And
mhm,
so,
yeah,
if your site also has, you've got some good backlinks to the site, other people, other websites are saying, hey, this is a good source of information. And, your content is, Google looks at all the other content that is also preferred by people that saying, oh, this is all good content and your content is kind of covering things in a similar way to they are. I just don't think I don't think it's really important at all. Of course, you don't want it. If you could fix it, it's always better than not fixing it. Um,
yeah. But
but
then on this, oh, sorry, go
no, I was
ahead.
just gonna say, but as far as this site's ranking above you, and you say, well, they have grammatical errors. How are they ranking above me? That's not how this works. Like
Right.
there's so much more important stuff to that. Namely, matching search intent. Your cover the topic fully. Your content is optimized correctly. Your on-page SEO, and other websites, other people are giving you backlinks saying this information is a good source, or this is a
Hmm.
good article. This is a good website. It's so much
Yeah.
more important than grammatical mistakes. I just think it's really, really, really far down the list.
And consider that, not all humans that speak the same language speak in the same format or write in the same format. I mean, slang is a big thing, even just within, United States or different parts of the UK or wherever. People use different slang. They use different terminology. They write things different ways. And so all of this, when looking from a crawler's perspective, has to be engineered to have a certain level of acceptance and variance within, what you think is grammatically correct or written correctly. And that's its own thing as well. So, even conceptualizing that, there's going to be a lot of room for variance, for lack of a better word than just error.
Yeah. And I'll just end with, as far as the first part of the question, can Google really read content and decide, oh yeah, this one's better? Um, I don't think they can really do it necessarily like that. Like they can't say it's better. Like they look for other people's opinions to say which one of these is better. Like what, like they can say like, are you matching like the searcher's intent? Are you
Hmm.
covering it fully? So like, a bunch of other people said that these 5 articles are really good. Is your article anywhere close to that? Like, are you covering the same topics? Are you talking about the same things at all? And so they would say, okay, well, like now you're in the running because you you basically met these like minimum standards, right? But as far as saying like which
Mm-hmm.
one of these is better, I think they really look, once you've met the standards and met search intent, cover topic fully, then they're looking for other people to tell them which one of these is better, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's primarily done through backlinks. Um, yeah. Do you have anything else to add on that, Nick?
Sounds good.
Cool. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like we have time for maybe a couple more. Yeah, so if you're watching and you got any questions, go ahead and ask them and we'll give you guys priority. If not, we'll just keep taking from our little backlog that we have here. All right, which one do you want?
That's a long
What about this
question.
one?
Go ahead. Yeah, that's good.
I don't know if we've answered this one before.
And it's pretty quick too. Should be. I feel like a lot of times we don't answer the simpler questions, which I think is like, sometimes we should probably focus on that because like early on, who we're trying to help are the ones asking, these questions that are not simpler, but they're just like newer questions to
For
SEO.
sure. Just the simple questions end up having really big answers because they
Yeah.
just end up, yeah, the more advanced questions just tend to be more like dialed in, right? More specific about something in
Hmm.
particular.
For sure.
All right. Hey guys, I just heard that you need to have both nofollow and dofollow links in your blog posts for SEO purposes. What's that? So just can't link any website? I'm a little new here. Um,
Sure.
is he talking about outbound or inbound links?
I don't, I mean, either way, it doesn't really
I think he's
matter,
talking about
right?
outbound links actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, that's how I would picture this, right? Like, but either way, so starting off, the difference between a no follow and do follow link. No follow is a way of telling a crawler that this is a backlink to somewhere, but we essentially are discounting it or discrediting it. It's like the idea was to keep link juice on a specific blog versus do follow is saying, the crawler hits this link and that it is adding value to this other blog that it's linking back to. Right? I mean, like for as far as like layman goes, like that, does that
Yeah, it's
sound
just,
okay to
you're just
you?
kind of
I
saying
mean,
I don't. To be
I'm
completely
trying to
honest, I'm
like
not even sure
without
like what
being.
the guidelines are for how you're supposed to use them. But in general, someone will, if they're linking to another website and they make it no follow, it's kind of saying like
Mhm,
this is
like
here,
discrediting.
but yeah, it's not saying it's not like it's kind of like not giving like your full like endorsement. Is the way I
Yeah.
kind of look at it.
It's
Um,
funny because talking about it, I'm like, huh, I feel kind of stupid answering the beginning part of this question because, like, yeah, I don't really understand the functionality of like why I would do that if I'm not manipulating what I'm trying to tell search, right?
uh-huh.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up so we don't sound too dumb. Like, we know how to use these things, guys, I promise you. But as far as the definition goes, I'm not some encyclopedia.
Well, I want to get. Oh,
But to move forward from it, from my personal way of doing things, I don't no follow anything. I leave everything as is.
here's what Google says. Here we go. This is actually from Google. So I'll just go ahead and pull this up real quick. Um, Here we go. All right, so it says use the no follow value when other values don't apply and when you'd rather Google not associate your site with or crawl the linked page from your site. So it's like we said before, it's kind of like you're saying like this information is here and it might kind of like help you, but we're also kind of like, it's whatever. You're not really.
Yeah, we don't know him that
Yeah,
well. Yeah, we
exactly,
don't know him that well,
exactly.
so
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're saying, "Oh yeah, I know that guy," but you're not saying like, "Hey, I'm not saying he's like a real good guy though." But I don't know what he
yeah,
did.
yeah. But he said something, so
Um,
um,
yeah.
yeah. So when I'm talking about like using no follow links from my site to another site, I don't do it, and I have no problem ranking. However, when I'm talking about my link profile, I do want a
Wait,
healthy,
wait, wait.
natural
Let's
looking mix
just to
of no follow
clarify
to do
for the
follow.
new people watching. Nick just answered saying he's saying if Nick writes a blog post on his website
Oh yeah.
and then he's linking out to other websites, like so he's giving them links. He normally just
Hmm.
links do follow. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
really no follow links to other sites either. I always just do follow
And I think at this point in
for
time,
the most part.
to think that a no follow link doesn't have any credit or isn't getting crawled because Google gives this guideline of like, oh, we won't crawl it is pretty stupid. Yes, it is a link. It's getting crawled. It's taking note that it's no follow, but it's still painting a picture of what this, overall thing is,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to be harmed hypothetically by building your own blog and mixing no follow do follow or doing all no follow. Wikipedia is all no follow, no problem ranking, right? My assets all do follow, no problem ranking. Healthy mix, I'm sure, will be rewarded as well. Where you want to be more critical about your no follow to do follow ratio is when backlinks that you're getting are pointed back at your site. There is what looks more natural to crawlers. If you're only getting all do follow links, 100 referring domains, and 99% of those to 100% of those are all do follow, it's not really natural.
Or the opposite, if 99% of them are
Yeah,
no
or the
follow.
opposite. And so, there is a healthy ratio. And don't overthink that too much. I'm not going to give random percentages
Yeah,
here.
the I,
There's no reason to get too overly critical about that. It's all a backlink. It is all getting crawled. It is all getting stored as information that's painting a picture about your asset.
Yeah, just to add to that before you move on, I've seen stuff like all over the place as far as like the ratio goes. Maybe they
Yeah.
have 25% do follow links coming to their site, 75% no follow, or 50-50, or the other way, 75%
Hmm.
do follow, 25% no follow. So they can really be all over the place. And but yeah, you do want do follow links. You do want do follow links, but a no follow link does not mean that Google. I don't think they. They probably are discounted in some way. Like maybe they just don't have their full the full power or whatever. I'm not really sure. I don't think anyone really knows for sure either. But yeah, I mean, you definitely prefer do follow links if you're
It,
getting like if you're paying for something like a guest post, a niche edit, a PBN link, should be a do follow link. If you're getting like high end editorial links from some big websites, a lot of times it might end up being no follow. They no follow a lot of
mhm.
their stuff. But does that mean like a link from like CNN or whatever big huge authority site? You don't want that because it's no follow. I would still really want that no follow link. And you could look at it the same way with
Mhm.
other big authority sites as well that maybe aren't that big. But in general, if you're paying for something like that, you generally want it to be do follow. And the things, of course, like pillow links, um, you know, some of them will be do follow, some of them will be no follow. I'd be completely fine with all of them being no follow.
Mhm.
Um, So yeah, we kind of covered the question in both ways. I'm not really sure. I think they might have been saying like linking out from their blog posts. So we're saying we
Yeah.
normally just link do follow. But yeah, if you don't want to associate with them or you're not 100% sure of how good the site is, you could link no follow if you don't want to. It's just not
Yeah.
something I really take the time to do. Um, and then as far as
And again,
go ahead.
no issues ranking,
Yeah.
so.
And then as far as your inbound links go, you should be getting a healthy mix of do follow and no follow. But if you're actually paying like good money for stuff and it's not some like super high end editorial site, then you probably want them to be do follow for the most part. So yeah, hopefully that helps. All right. So we got time for one more. Uno más.
Yeah, one shorty. Sure, that's fine, I guess.
Wait. What is that?
I'm just talking about two money sites, I'm guessing.
I feel like it's a very confusing question.
All right, is there a simpler one? Because I do have to get out of here.
Um,
Those all look kind of long.
Go to this one. Question. I kind of read that like Dwight from The Office. Question.
Yeah, I like that.
Does
It's
it
nice.
take more effort to rank one of the newer TLDs such as .network than it would to rank, say, the same but on a .com domain? So, or any actual experience.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I remember when these like more random TLDs first popped up on the scene, there was a lot of argument, and I was on the side of no, they're much harder to rank. They don't rank, and at that point in time, they weren't really showing up in the
How
SERPs,
long
right?
ago
But that
was
makes
this?
sense because they were newer. It's 2, 3 years, I think, maybe a little further than
Yeah.
that. But we're not seeing that issue anymore. You take into consideration even sirlinkslot.co, which is Columbia. A lot of people think it's company.
Yeah.
I just liked it because it was short, and I use .co quite a bit. But it doesn't have problems ranking anywhere, right? Or maybe we would be more optimized to rank with the .com, but I really doubt it. I think it'd be negligible. Google knows that all types of people are personalizing their websites, which that's what this is about, is personalization of the website and specific TLDs. I think the only time that it really matters is when we're talking about ranking in foreign countries where, like you're not going to see a .co.jp site most likely rank for a bunch of US-based SERPs or South American-based SERPs. Now, maybe if they're doing business there real heavily,
Mhm.
there will be some kind of coincidental rankability, but overall, the only ones that I would worry about, and I say this again using a .co for Sir Links a lot, is probably not best practice. But not to say that I haven't seen like a Taiwanese website rank in major U.S.
Yeah, for
SERPs
like a
or
local
anything like
service
that.
or something, right?
Or even .co.uk sites.
Yeah.
It's not something that you see really unless you're looking for a niche specific product that is only accessible there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, best practice. But when we talk about stuff like .network or .xyz or whatever, yeah, you're fine. You're good to go, in my opinion. If there is a difference in rankability, in my opinion, from where I'm looking, it's negligible.
Yeah.
So that would be my honest
Now that
answer.
I'm getting more into the crypto scene as well, you can really see how much
They're
they
everywhere,
utilize these new
dude.
TLDs because they want,
Yes.
they really want their brand to have a very I feel like they understand the internet a lot better than
Mm-hmm.
say a normal, I don't know, a lot of just normal other businesses. And so they want these really short, very memorable, very easy to remember names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Dogcoin whatever
IO is a
.io
big one, yeah.
or
Mm-hmm.
dot tech or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't think Google really prefers, just like you said, I don't think Google really prefers one or the other. But in the case of certain countries having specific like TLDs, it's probably best practice, like you said, to use that specific TLD in that country. But yeah, I don't really see a problem with any of these new TLDs. I think they can rank just fine. I mean, we're,
Yeah,
we're
same.
ranking, yeah, like you said, we're .co, which is technically Columbia, which a
Colombia,
lot of
yeah.
people, a lot of businesses use because it looks like .company, like or
Yeah,
it's
but it's
close to
not.
.com. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
not, like you said, it's actually Columbia. Um, yeah, it doesn't really seem to matter too much for us, and we rank pretty well. If you're watching this video,
Yeah.
there's probably a good chance that you found us in our website, our services. you know, an
Hmm.
American or British or Canadian or wherever search on a, and we're ranking on a
Yeah, we rank
Colombian
all
TLD,
worldwide.
right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, guys. And Nick's gonna take off, so definitely not gonna do any
Yeah.
extra questions. Let me say, doesn't look like we have any extra in the chat anyway. Yeah, like always, thanks for coming. Hopefully we answered your stuff good, well, whatever. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Join our Facebook group, SEO Roundtable. Sign up for our mailing list. We got a big Black Friday, 25% off everything except I think domains sale coming up. It's going to start in
10% off
6 days.
domains.
6 days. We're starting on the
Yes.
23rd to the 30th.
And yes. And we got a sneak peek of our guest post dashboard yesterday.
Guest post
That
dashboard
thing is
looking good,
sweet.
looking good.
Looking good. Should be available to all of y'all very soon.
Yep. So that's about it, guys. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you next time.